Welcome back to another We Ourselves video, and today I want to continue with The Curious Case of Kang, Part 2. In the last video, I talked about the upcoming trial of Jonathan Majors and the conflicting news reports about whether Marvel was going to move away from him or continue working with him, as well as my feeling that Marvel had already subverted the characters. And I covered what I felt were moments that subverted this character in Loki Season 1 and in Quantumania. And today I want to continue with talking about Loki Season 2. You have Loki Season 2, we're introduced to Victor Timely. Now in the comic books, again, I'm not a comic book nerd, but in the comic books, Victor Timely was a Kang who was from the 31st century and he had access to the technology and the knowledge, but he hid out in 1901 and he took over or created a town, gave it his name, and that's why he was there. But in this series, Victor Timely is actually a little kid in 1868, and he has brought a TVA manual that was written by a new character, OB or Ouroboros. Why they decided to do this, I don't think OB is in the comic books. This is a Marvel thing. You introduce this character and then you say this character wrote the manual. Some people immediately begin to suspect that OB was really the one behind the technology and Kang just took it. Now, as problematic as that immediate assumption is, you can't blame these people totally because Marvel itself says it, because they introduce Victor as a con man. Again, the lack of cultural sensitivity on that image. You have this character, this black man, and you immediately portray him as a con man. It's like, really? That's what y'all decided to do? Here in the MCU, he's a con man, and he got the book from somebody else when he was a little kid. All the Kangs are super intelligent, as far as I know, or at least the main ones, and Victor Timely is one of the main variants. He's intelligent in comics. Here, he's a little boy just making candles. Why didn't you show him doing some math? Why didn't you show him up at a board trying to figure out a complex thing, something that you wouldn't expect a young kid to be doing, especially a young black kid in the 1800s? Chicago. It really feels like that there was not anything special until that book was given to him, which was written by Obi. Later on, Victor Timely finally meets Obi, and then there's this back and forth, and we find out that their relationship is Ouroboros, the snake eating its tail. Which came first? Did Victor Timely come up with the ideas, or did Obi come up with the ideas and then give the book to Victor Timely, who expanded on them? But then Obi says, well, I got all my ideas from Victor Timely. As cute as the idea of Ouroboros was, you were undermining your characters again, because some people ran with that to say that He Who Remains was not that smart and actually got the technology for the TVA and everything from OB. Again, that's problematic that people jump to that, but it's Marvel's own fault because they put that in the show. Why are you undermining the natural intelligence of your Kang variants, particularly if they have to be the next big bad? That's almost like finding out that Thanos, yes, he needed the Infinity Gauntlet, but before then, he was a force of nature.
I am inevitable.
But it's like, it's finding out that everything he has, the ship, oh, he stole it from somebody. Everything that he has, all the technology, oh, he took it from somebody. His power, oh, he's cheating, he's juicing up before he goes into a battle. They didn't do that with Thanos because they knew it would have undermined him as a force of nature, a force in the universe, a villain that was nearly unstoppable. But with Kang, they're nicking and pecking him to death. Literally, they're taking away from the mystique of him by saying, oh, Ouroboros, OB, he's the one who wrote the stuff. And then later when you find out the OB is actually a science fiction writer, then you had everybody say, oh, so he came up with the timekeepers in the story. So really it's OB. Oh, and He Who Remains, like Victor Timely, because you introduced Victor Timely as a con man. So now people are thinking that He Who Remains is a con man also. So he tricked Ouroboros. He took all his technology. He took the whole thing about the timekeepers. Then he wiped OB's mind and he stuffed him in a thing. And that seems to be what Marvel is saying with the show. So He Who Remains is a con man. So it's just like Victor Timely is a con man. So the cosmic black boogeyman is also a con man. And it's like, really, Marvel, you decided to go that route with them? And I don't think this was a decision that was done because of the problems that Jonathan Major had right after Ant-Man and Quantumania tanked, which is odd timing, by the way. I think they were already planning to do this because there seems to be this kill switch, no pun intended,
is a failsafe
inside of Marvel when it comes to its black characters, particularly the ones that they have picked to move into key positions going forward.
is a failsafe.
I've already talked about Anthony Mackie's Falcon. It's like you chose him to be the next Captain America, but even in his own show, you could not give him any kind of characterization. In that same show, you told Bucky's story again for the third time and did it well, but at the same time, you gave Anthony Mackie's character nothing. But you chose him to be the next Captain America, not us. You decided that Kang, who's going to be portrayed by Jonathan Majors, was going to be the next big baddie, and you don't even take time to give him the characterization that James Gunn was able to do with the High Evolutionary in one film. Again, I love the actor who played OB character himself, but the entire time I'm watching, it's like, why are you doing this to Kang? Even if you decided that you were going to not use him anymore, you still wanted to take him out in a big way, but you kind of sort of didn't, because Loki figured out a way to get around He Who Remains and becomes the god of story. Epic as hell, but you kind of sort of just got rid of Kang off the screen. They were already fumbling with Loki season 1 and the pulling back of the 31st century technology to something that looked like it's from the 1950s. Then you have Kang the Conqueror. He was outsmarted by 3 regular women and ants. It was already a mess. I honestly think they've already made the decision. They're just going to wait until after the trial, and then they're going to say, we're going to move on. That's why I call this a curious case of Kang. Whether Jonathan Majors wins the case or not, if he does, he's still done, because the character's already been subverted even before they got to Loki season 2. But Loki season 2 put the nail in the coffin for it. And if he loses, of course, they're going to move on. But I think either way, they're going to have to move on because they've done this character really no justice. The only bright spots was Jonathan Majors bringing his A game and taking the material he had and making it the most mesmerizing parts of Quantumania, Loki season 1 and Loki season 2. He did his ultimate to make these different versions of himself work. So that's my take on this. Thank you for watching, and as always, like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.